Hello, this is Alex Eames from Raspberry.tv. So what have we got on the Raspberry TV workbench today? Well, I wanted a project that I could use to test several of the GPIO Zero functions at the same time. So what I came up with was a security light. So we've got a 12 volt lamp controlled by a relay, which is controlled by a GPIO pin. We've got a passive infrared motion sensor here that detects movement. We've got a light sensor over here. And you can see on the screen it shows you when it's light and dark. If we take that off, you should see down here it should change to light straight away. And it does. And back to dark again. I've set it so that it only activates when it's dark. So if I do it when it's light, nothing will happen. Let's have a closer look at all of the bits. So first up we have a 12 volt halogen bulb. This is connected to a battery and switched on and off by a relay, and the relay is controlled by this white jumper lead, which is connected over here to GPIO 25. So what else do we have? Over here on the breadboard we have a light dependent resistor, which we're using a capacitor to read. One end of the capacitor is connected to the ground pin at the back there, the brown lead, and the white lead is connected to one end of the other end of the capacitor and the LDR, and that goes to GPIO 26, which is the back row pin here behind GPIO 20. The other end of the light sensor is connected to via this orange wire to one of the 3v3 pins on the Pi's GPIO header. GPIO Zero contains a class called light sensor, which uses exactly this method. It measures the length of time that it takes a capacitor to charge and discharge, and that tells you whether or not it's light or dark. Over here at the back we have a passive infrared motion sensor. It's pointing the other way because I don't want it to trigger all the time. If it was pointing this way, it would be triggering every time I move a teeny little bit. So a motion sensor has 3 pins on it. Usually you have one for ground, one for 5 volts. So the 5 volt is connected to one of the 5 volt pins on the Pi, and likewise with ground you can see 5 volts and ground. The middle pin is the signal pin, and that is connected to GPIO 21 over here. There's a motion sensor class in GPIO Zero which enables you to tell whether or not motion is being detected via this GPIO pin. In combination with the input from the light sensor, we're able to decide whether or not we want to switch on the security light. So the logic is basically something like this. If it's dark and if we detect motion, we'll turn on the light. So if it's no to either of those, then we won't turn on the light. So if I make it dark and pretend to be a person walking in front, we triggered the sensor. We triggered it again. And you can see if I make it light again and then go in front of the sensor, nothing happens because it's light. And that's exactly how it's supposed to work. Okay, that's all very well. You could do this with RPi GPIO. There's nothing new there. What's new here is that just using just 16 lines of code, I've managed to reproduce the functionality of a security light, pretty much like the ones that you've probably got outside your house. That's 16 lines of code. I'm pretty amazed it can be done in so few lines. Let's have a look at the code now. So there's the Python code. As you can see, it's just 16 lines, and that's really all there is to it. If you want to have a closer look at the code and a breakdown of how it works, have a look at the blog article that accompanies this video. In case you're wondering what this little board is that I'm using to show you which GPIO pin is which and which is ground, it's called the Raspberry Ports Plus. It's a board that I designed myself because I hate counting pins. As you can see, it enables you to see exactly which pin is which. That one's ground, that one's ground, that one's GPIO 12. And it almost eliminates the possibility of making a wiring error because you've got your label right next to the pin. If you think that looks like an interesting thing that you might be interested in having, this is the URL where you can get hold of them. It's rasp.io/ports plus. This was Alex Eames for Raspberry.tv. Thank you for watching.